In this video, we'll go over how to set up the water chiller from the Pod Company for your ice pod. Before we get started, there are several things to be aware of. First, make sure your ice pod's set up on a flat, stable surface that could support up to 700 pounds, or 300 kilograms. You'll need access to a GFCI outlet, which is a regular 110-volt US plug, but with a third hole for the ground pin. All houses in the USA have these by law. The chiller comes with a 4-foot, 1.5-meter power cable, so you'll need an extension cord for anything longer. You want to be sure there's at least 15 inches of space around the water chiller for proper airflow. And lastly, make sure the ice bath and chiller set up at least 5 feet away from any other appliances for safety purposes. Included with your water chiller are the following: 1 water chiller unit, 1 water filter, 1 water pump, 4 hose connectors, circular seal rings for hose connectors, 2 hoses for water inlet and outlet. Before setting up the water chiller, make sure it's stable and in the upright position for the refrigeration fluid to settle after transportation. Step 1. Unpack and place the chiller. Remove the chiller from its box and protective packaging, and place it on the valve side of the ice pod, with at least 3 feet or 1 meter of space in between. Step 2. Attach the filter. Mount the filter by screwing it on the chiller inlet, placed on the right side of the chiller as shown here. Step 3. Attach the pump. Mount the water pump by screwing it onto the chiller outlet, placed on the left side of the chiller. Plug the pump power cable into the back of the water chiller. Step 4. Attach the inlet hose to the filter. Press the first hose onto the water filter. This is the inlet hose. Connect the other end of this hose to the bottom drain valve of your ice pod. Keep the ice pod valve closed for now. Do this by screwing the hose adapter onto the ice pod valve first, and then pressing the hose onto it. Remember to add a circular rubber seal ring to the hose adapter thread. Step 5. Attach the outlet hose to the pump. Insert the big hose connector into the end of the second hose. Now, screw that hose onto the water pump and tighten it. Do not attach the other end of this hose to the ice pod yet. Leave it on the floor for now. Step 6. Fill your ice pod with water. You can now fill your ice pod with water, making sure the valves on your ice pod are in the closed position. Double check that all seals and hose connections are secure and tight. Step 7. Let water into the chiller and vent excess air. Please pay extra attention to this step. Doing this step incorrectly can cause air to be trapped inside the system, which results in water not circulating into the ice pod. Open the bottom ice pod valve that connects via hose to the filter. Next, open the smaller air release valve on the filter, which will release excess air, so the water can flow into the chiller. Close the filter valve once the filter's full of water and water's running out at the top. Step 8. Power the chiller on. Connect the chiller's main power supply cord to a 110-volt GFCI outlet. Turn on the chiller using the red switch. Please note the chiller and pump will now turn on and water will start flowing. Leave the outlet hose connected to the water pump out on the floor, or in a bucket until water comes out to make sure all the air is out of the system. Once water's running out consistently, place the hose in the ice pod, as water will now circulate. If you have the 2-valved ice pod, please keep the outlet hose above water level so the water stays in. Then turn off the chiller and attach the hose to the top valve of the ice pod using the hose connector with a circular rubber seal. Turn the chiller back on once connected. Step 9. Controlling the chiller. Once your water's circulating, you can set your desired temperature. 1. Press the set button once. 2. Adjust the temperature up or down using the arrow buttons to your desired temperature. 3. Press the RST button once. The chiller will now show the current water temperature and will begin cooling down to the set temperature. You should hear the chiller's compressor start after around 3 minutes. Please allow 1 hour for the temperature to start dropping, as the chiller requires some time to start cooling. Depending on the initial water temperature, your chiller version, standard or pro, and how hot it is where you live, the water should be at the set temperature within 4 to 10 hours. After that, the chiller will maintain the set temperature via its thermostat. Keeping your water clean and when to change it. We recommend adding 1 to 2 ounces of 35% hydrogen peroxide to your ice bath every 2 to 3 weeks to keep it clean and soft. Alternatively, you can also use Epsom salt. With this added to the water, you should only need to change the water once per month, but be your own judge based on the water clarity. Important considerations and warranty information. The chiller and ice pod setup's designed to have water flow 24/7. Water flow is important for the following 3 reasons. 1. Stagnant water is not sanitary for the system. 2. If the chiller's on with no water flow, it can cause damage to your chiller. So make sure to never run the chiller for more than 5 minutes if the water is not circulating due to either air in the system or the pump not connected to power. 3. If the temperature drops below freezing without water flow, it can ultimately crack the system. Please note that any damage caused by freezing conditions or improper water chemistry are not covered under warranty. Now that your setup's complete, please enjoy your new pod water chiller. And be sure to tag us while plunging on Instagram @TheIcePod.